If you are interested in playing more confidently up and down the guitar neck, hands down the most important concept to learn would be the pentatonic scale and how to apply and memorize the 5 pentatonic box shapes. Hello and welcome to the Daily Callus. My name is Greene, and today I have an introductory video for you on the 5 pentatonic box shapes. We're going to look at what the pentatonic scale is, how the 5 boxes fit together, and why learning the 5 pentatonic box shapes is one of the most powerful things you can do for your blues and rock guitar playing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of noise in the apartment next door, so I've had to kick up the noise gate to 11, and I apologize for any poor audio quality. But anyways, if you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. And lastly, if you're interested in purchasing any of the PDFs or charts on pentatonic boxes and kind of how they fit together, please check out my store, the Daily Callus, on Etsy. So for now, let's go ahead and take a look at what the 5 pentatonic box shapes are all about. So what is the pentatonic scale? It's really just a collection of 5 notes. And these 5 notes are plucked out of something called the diatonic scale, which is something you don't really need to worry about. But just know that these 5 notes get the most bang for their buck and can be applied across the board in almost any situation. Chances are 95% of the solos that you love are made up of notes in the pentatonic scale. I'll use box 1 as an illustration. So we're going to be working in the key of A minor, and this is what box 1 looks like on the pentatonic scale. When we look closer, we realize that that pattern is really just a collection of the same 5 notes being run over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, and then we have to leave the box and enter another box to finish the scale. 3, 4, 5. But what's important to know is that these 5 notes, as long as you're playing in the key of A minor in this case, you can apply any of these notes to produce a solo. So how do the pentatonic boxes work? As a way to help us remember the notes, guitar players group the pentatonic scale into boxes. For example, here is box 1 of the pentatonic scale. And again, what's important to know is not the order of the notes, but the shape that the pattern makes as a whole. The key of the song will determine where the box can be played on the fretboard, but no matter what, box 1 will always be shaped like this. For example, playing in the key of A requires box 1 to be here. But playing in the key of C would require the box to be moved here. The other reason guitar players use boxes is because we can group the notes into regions of the fretboard that allow us to use our fingers without moving our hand unnecessarily up and down the neck. Consider this. I could play one guitar riff on one string, or I could apply box 1 of the pentatonic shape to play the same riff in one region of the fretboard. Let's take a look. That was all on one string, and it required me to move my hand and arm up and down the fretboard. But I can hit those same notes using the notes in box 1. In total, there are 5 pentatonic box shapes to memorize, and although they're all shaped differently, they all contain the same 5 notes in them. As you learn to memorize the 5 box shapes, you'll realize something special, that the front of one box is the back of another, and so on. For example, let's take a look at box 1 again. Box 1 is shaped like this. On the back end of box 1 is box 5, and the notes that make up the front of box 5 are the back of box 1. Box 5 looks like this. Essentially, these 5 boxes connect like Legos, and they continue up the neck until we run out of room. But keep in mind that the box position will shift depending on the key of the song. But again, the shape of the 5 boxes will always stay the same. Memorizing the 5 pentatonic box shapes will ultimately allow you to see the fretboard light up with notes that you know will work in your guitar playing. The best analogy I heard was that when you combine all of the boxes, you can use them as a freeway to get from one place on the neck to another, jumping off at any point to play a riff in whatever box you find yourself in. For example, you could make a run like this, or a run like this. So why is the pentatonic box system considered such a powerful tool for guitar players? Well, 3 reasons really. Number 1, it allows the guitar player to access notes in the pentatonic scale in groups around the fretboard. Each pentatonic box spans between 4 and 5 frets, which is the most practical way to use our fingers without having to shift our hand up and down the neck. Number 2 is the pentatonic boxes give the guitar player a reference point. They're really easy to understand patterns, and once you take a closer look, there are a few other tips and tricks you can use to figure out where you are in any song during a solo. Number 3, guitar licks live inside pentatonic boxes. That way, no matter what key the song is in, as long as you know where your 5 boxes are, you can play your favorite guitar licks. For example, if I learn a lick in box 1, I will always know that that lick exists in box 1 no matter what the key is. In this case, I was in the key of G minor. But if I'm playing in a band or playing with some friends and we're playing in the key of C minor, I can apply the exact same lick because I know which box it lives in. Before we move on, let's take a look at the 5 box positions. So again, we're going to be playing in the key of A minor. So box 1 looks like this. Box 2 right above it. Box 3 right above that. Box 4 above that. Box 5 would be above box 4, but it's also behind box 1. So I'm just going to shift it over here so it's easier to see. Again, box 1. Box 5 is right behind it. Behind box 5, we have box 4. So again, just to prove the point, there are 5 boxes, and they literally run up and down the fretboard like Legos, with box 2 following box 1, and box 3 following box 2, so on and so forth. There's a point that I really want to drive home to you. It's the idea of constants and variables. In this case, the 5 pentatonic box shapes are the constants, and the licks that live in those shapes are constant as well. Those will always be the same. The variable in this case is the position on the neck where those boxes are, and the position on the neck is determined by the key of the song. For example, playing in G minor would have box 1 right here, but playing in B minor would have box 1 up here. But the box shape is always going to be the same, and the boxes that come after it and before it, they're the same as well. They just sort of shift up and down the neck depending on the key of the song. So moving forward, what's the best way to learn the pentatonic box shapes? This is the way that I learned, and maybe it'll help you. Number 1 would be to just simply memorize each box shape separately. Ground your learning in an easy key to play in, like E or A. Start with box 1 and play it back and forth until you feel comfortable. Then move on to box number 2. Once you feel comfortable with box 2, move on to number 3, 4, and 5. Secondly, would be to learn how the boxes connect. At some point, you should be able to map out how the 5 boxes connect up the neck, and one way to really help practice this is to pick a random box in a random key on the fretboard and play the box in front of it and the box behind it. For example, let's start with box 3 in the key of E. I know in front of number 3, I have box number 4. And behind box number 3, I have box number 2. Thirdly would be to find where the root notes are in each of the 5 pentatonic box patterns. Now, just as a full disclaimer, playing in a minor key or a major key will change where those root notes live, but if you're a blues or rock guitar player, I would recommend learning the minor root notes in each of the 5 pentatonic box patterns first. So let's take a look at A minor, for example. In box 1, we have a root note here, here, and here. And those are all A notes. And again, each of the 5 boxes has root notes within them on different strings and different frets. But it's important to learn the relationship between those root notes and the shape that they live in. And if you would like some more information on the relationship between root notes and pentatonic boxes, I have a whole series dedicated to root patterns. So please check that out if you're interested. Let's go over some of the major points that we learned in this video. The pentatonic scale is a collection of 5 useful notes. The arrangements of these notes on guitar are grouped into pentatonic boxes. There are 5 pentatonic boxes in total, and they connect up the neck like Legos. Each of the 5 boxes has the same notes in them, just with different starting points. The 5 pentatonic box shapes are constant, but their position on the fretboard is varied depending on the key of the song. But for example, box 2 will always follow box 1, and so on. Pentatonic boxes act as containers that hold licks. And it's these principles, along with your own creativity, that allow such a wide variety of licks to be played. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video on the 5 pentatonic boxes helpful. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And as always, if you want to find more, please check out my store, the Daily Callus, on Etsy. I really appreciate all the support, and in the future I will have more videos on concepts behind the pentatonic boxes and sort of connecting them and finding little tricks to help you become a better blues and rock guitar player. So until next time, thank you so much.